Welcome to Executive Leaders Radio, your spot in the corner office, the radio show where executives share their secrets to success. Executive Leaders Radio.
You're listening to Executive Leaders Radio. This is your host, Herb Cohen, with my co-hosts, including Shannon Lane Newmark, Caleb Hoppus Hanlon, David Jackowitz, Evolution Financial Group, and Dave Stonecipher, Herbine. Shannon, can you give us a rundown on who we have on the air with us today, please?
Sure, Herb. We have a great lineup today. We'll be starting with Dr. Ron Matthews, president of Eastern University. Then we'll have Trish Feidiga, president and owner of Advantage Building and Facility Services. We'll then have Shafi Gaffer, CEO of Curry Shack, and we'll be wrapping up today with Beth Hahn, president of Berkshire Systems Group. All
right, let's get to know our first guest, Dr. Ron Matthews, president of Eastern University. Ron, what is Eastern University?
Eastern University is a faith-based university, started in 1925 as a seminary. Now it's a comprehensive university outside of Philadelphia.
Tell me a little bit about where you're from, how many brothers and sisters, where are you in the pecking order?
I was born and raised in Philadelphia. I have two brothers, an older brother and a younger brother. Obviously, I'm in the middle.
All right. So what effect did growing up the middle of three have on you?
Well, my older brother is brilliant. He's 2.5 years older than I was. He was in another world. My younger brother is 4 years younger than I am, and he was the source of my mentoring and love. He was great. I get along with both of them. They're wonderful people.
So what was it like growing up in your family as a kid? What did that feel like?
I knew that there was a lot of love. My parents were together. They seemed distant from each other, candidly, but they were disciplined and loving. My dad was more fun-loving. My mom was more disciplined.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned that as a kid, you began to deeply think about how people get along with each other and about stress. And tell us more about that. What do you mean by that stuff?
Although our family got along fairly well, I felt underneath, even as a child, that there were tensions there, probably parental tensions. My parents never argued in front of us, but it seemed like there were issues there. Also, my older brother was, big and brawny, and, I was tall and skinny. And so learning how to get along with him, even though he's a good guy and everything, but kids are kids. And then also in my sphere, even at school, I had a close friend who had a heart condition, talked about death, and just getting along with people was important to me.
Shannon?
Ron, you mentioned faith earlier. How young were you when faith first started showing up in your life?
I was raised in a very religious family. So at the age of 4 was really when I started to think carefully about, we prayed before meals and things like that. And that provoked questions. Who's God? Why do we pray? That kind of thing.
And tell us more about that. At 4 years old, that's pretty young to start to realize. What was it at 4 years old that really had an impact?
Actually, I was watching TV and there was a program that talked about faith, and I had never heard that kind of language before, and it just stimulated me to think about that, and that was really the beginning of a significant change.
Mr. Jackowitz?
Ron, in the Dream Room, you were talking about, you were very involved in music. Can you tell us more about that?
Sure. I started piano when I was 4, trumpet at 8, organ at 12, and had my first church position at 14.
You also talked about conducting. You said you did a lot of conducting.
I did. At an early age, I was in charge of small little groups, and then that kind of escalated into what was my career as a conductor and composer, and it formed everything for me.
What is the role of the conductor?
The conductor works with disparate groups, pulls them together, and seeks to have a shared vision and a shared outcome. There's a performance, there's a process, and everything leads to what would hopefully be a beautiful, memorable, transformational event.
How do you think that leads into how you run the university today?
So many issues in higher education, so many competing forces, so many difficulties, problem solving. And that's the goal, really, that everyone comes together with a shared vision, works together well, and the goal of working together well is that we get to play. Playing is the goal.
Caleb?
Hey, Ron, you mentioned that you're the middle of 3 boys. Can you tell us a little bit more about the relationship you had with your brothers?
Sure. My younger brother, I protected and spent time with and tried to teach him everything I had learned 4 years ahead of him. My older brother, I just respected but kept my distance because, he was big and tough and bright. I just, even to this day, I just engage with him well, so respect him. But I really had to learn how to deal with the different dynamics in my family, and that led me to really being concerned about peace and stress. And how do we listen, really? And so that's where I am now.
So you guys had some similarities and some differences. What were they personally, or maybe the physical traits that you guys were different?
Yeah, well, my brothers are both brawny, and I was skinny, and that's where my dad came in. He was an athlete and helped me get stronger and helped me grow physically, taught me boxing. So it helped me get along with a sense of self-confidence to know that people are people. We all have vulnerabilities. We just need to be honest.
So I'm curious how that relates to how you operate with the student life at Eastern University.
This job has been the hardest job in my life, and my goal is that everyone flourish. And so for me, learning the resiliency of disagreement and learning how to disagree agreeably and how to motivate people to come together is really huge in this position.
What's really huge in this position?
That we learn how to be a community. And a community is based on unity through diversity. And this is a time when students particularly have been raised with a whole generation by the cell phone. And with that comes a lot of stress and anxiety and social pressures. And if we can be models for that, if we can speak together into that and learn how to live life together in a way that's balanced and integrated, I think it's going to be a win.
Mm-hmm. How young were you when you started making money?
I was 14. I had two positions. One was in church music, and the other was in another church as the janitor.
Mm-hmm. So you started off as a janitor in a church. What'd you do different than the other kids that had that job?
There were no other kids who had that job. It had been a paid position before, and the church was going in a different direction financially. And so I volunteered to do it, and they paid me some money, and I thought I was like amazingly rich.
What'd you learn being the church janitor at 14 that has anything to do with your being the president of Eastern University nowadays?
My most vivid memory is trying to go into the ladies' room and clean it, and scared to death that somebody would be in there. And it never was, because it was during the week and the church was really closed. But honestly, the idea of just going into places unknown and not being afraid.
Mm-hmm. And what's that have to do with your role at Eastern University?
So for 40 years, I've been in the role of a musician, professor, conductor, have traveled throughout the world. 4 years ago, I came into this position, and it's reappropriated everything I've learned into leadership in ways that have been inspiring for me and hopefully beneficial for Eastern.
What are you talking about? Tell me more.
I like to engage people. My personal vision is to listen, to love, to learn, and to lead effectively.
Mm-hmm. And what's the best part about your role as since you're the president of Eastern University?
I get to work with all different kinds of people and students, which is continually engaging and renewing, and then some of the finest thinkers in the world, I feel, are at Eastern. It's been great board, and so it's exhilarating. Mm-hmm.
Co-host has got the next question.
Do you ever really get to interact with the students?
I do. I try to go where they are. I find that the president's office doesn't accommodate many students. And so for me, being able to go to them, hopefully through athletic events, artistic events, and then I try to just walk the campus. And that's really where a lot of conversations and greetings and just being present is important. Being seen is important.
And why do you do it? Why is that important?
Well, it's not really that I like to be seen as much as I like to see. And the campus is a beautiful campus. It's worth walking through. And it's just fun to see the vibrancy of next generations curious and learning and figuring it out and be able to do that together.
So you're invigorated. It sounds like this is not a job for you. This is an invigoration for you.
Absolutely.
But I guess the thing is, because you're the president, you get to go in at 10 and leave at 4, and you don't have to work weekends, right?
Yeah, don't bring that approach to the game. It won't really work.
Mm-hmm.
This has been, and that's the other thing. I've always taught full time during the week, and on the weekends I was either touring or doing church. So I'm used to 8-day weeks, and so this job, though it's now only one job, is certainly multifaceted, and I'm kind of used to that schedule.
Mm-hmm. What's the website address for this organization known as Eastern University?
Eastern.edu.
Eastern.edu. We've been speaking with Dr. Ron Matthews, president of Eastern University, here on Executive Leaders Radio. Don't forget to visit our website. It's executiveleadersradio.com to learn more about our executive leaders. That's executiveleadersradio.com to learn more about our executive leaders. Don't go away. We'll be back in a moment, right after this quick break. And your name and organization is?
Christopher Giddings, president of Cogent Connections.
And how young were you when marketing came into your blood?
Oh, when I was a child, I always made my own Halloween costumes, and each Halloween costume was an interesting inanimate object. Like one time I was a working flashlight with a button on the front.
What do these clever Halloween costumes have to do with what you're doing nowadays?
Well, I got to work with my hands as a kid. Now I got to work with my brain, creating digital art as part of my business.
So you're helping brand companies the same way that you got to be known as a kid with the Halloween costumes. You're doing that for businesses nowadays in a creative sense. Am I seeing that correctly? What's the website address for your organization?
It's cogentconnections.io.
Can you spell that?
COGENTCONNECTIONS.io.
CogentConnections.com. We've been speaking with Chris Giddings, and this has been your Business Spotlight. We're back. You're listening to Executive Leaders Radio. This is your host, Herb Cohen. We'd like to introduce Trish Feidiga, president and owner, Advantage Building and Facility Services. Trish, what is Advantage Building and Facility Services? What are you guys doing?
We are a commercial property management, facility management, and building business.
And how large or how small is the team, and where are you from originally?
We have approximately 28 staff members. I started in Canada, worked my way to New York City, and then north of Scranton, Pennsylvania.
How many brothers and sisters do you have? Where are you in the pecking order?
I am number 4 out of 5.
All right. And what was going on with you 8 to 14 years old?
2 things. My parents were accountants and bookkeepers, so I was the triple check on the books back in the day with the tape on an adding machine. And by the time I was 11, my father passed, and my mother wasn't quite prepared for that.
What kind of sports did you play as a kid?
None.
And when Dad passed when you were 11, what did Mom do at that point in time?
So my mother had dedicated to her family and did not keep up with her business skills, so she went into the housekeeping business.
Your mother became a housekeeper when your dad passed to help pay the bills.
Yes, sir.
So what did you do when your dad passed at the age of 11?
Well, we moved up past Scranton, and I started working for a country store near a ski resort.
So you started working for a country store. How young were you, and why did you start working there?
13. We were broke. We were close.
So you decided to step up to the plate and get this job when you were 13 to help support the family?
Yes.
Okay. Shannon?
Trish, at 11 years old, you went through an awful lot. I'm curious, what was your outlet at the time? What were you doing for fun?
There was not a whole lot of fun. We were trying to move, schools, and so we're just focused on.
So you just cut out, focused on
living life, getting through to the next chapter.
And you also mentioned in the green room that you really had to step up for the family during that time. Tell us more about that.
I was fortunate to meet a woman who became my first mentor at the store. This woman taught me the benefits of a work ethic. She taught me reconciliation reconciliation of cash and inventory, make more than you spend, that concept, kindness, generosity. She had a huge impact on my life.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Jackowitz.
Chris, tell us, you said you were the fourth out of 5 children. Tell us a little bit more about your siblings.
My mother had children from the 18 to 47. The 2 older ones one lived in Canada and one in Ohio. Family focused. My younger brother is still up in the. She frozen? Oh, I thought you were frozen. Sorry.
What did your role in the family have to do with your role with this business nowadays, Trish?
It taught me that you get up every day and you make the most of the day. It taught me to make sure that the relationships one have are powerful. Mm-hmm. And it taught me that you need to do what you need to do to get to the next chapter.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Stonecipher?
Yes, she mentioned you worked at a country store pretty early. I think it was 13 or something you mentioned in the green room, and there was a pretty influential person there for you. Tell me about her.
She was amazing. She had time and she taught.
What did you see that made her successful?
Tenacity. No matter what was happening with the economy, the seasons, she just continued to motor through. And to this day, she's very, very successful.
Do you think you took any of those skills that you saw in her and use it in what you're doing today?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Tell me a little more about that.
Well, I don't believe we would have such a great company and advantage. We didn't walk away with things like the power of integrity, the power of clear communication, the power of high touch response, and a collaborative spirit that one needs to work as a team.
Okay. There was another individual you mentioned early on, too, as a pretty influential business owner that you encountered in your life. Tell me about it. I believe his name was Richard. Tell me about him a little bit.
So Richard came into my life as I was running a Fortune 100 company, and he believed that I could sell. And it was the one thing I did not want to do. And he took an inordinate amount of interest in that facet of my life. He put me through a sales course for a couple of years. He talked to me from 7 a.m. till probably midnight, 6 days a week. And that sales experience has helped me not only grow, prosper within the business, but it's also helped me with my business relationships and the relationships with my employees. I'm sorry. People never really buy into what you're selling unless they wanted it in the first place. And so there's skills associated with that.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Caleb?
Trish, it seems like you moved around a lot as a youngster. Where all were you growing up at?
Primarily the mountains.
So I believe it was Canada, New York?
This Pennsylvania area.
Okay. Did you move to a lot of different communities when you were younger?
We moved from Elmhurst to Oceanside in Long Island. And then when we moved up to Elk Mountain area.
Were you able to make a lot of friends in the new places that you moved to?
No, because it took about an hour and a half to do the bus ride to school, and I was involved with sports. And so I had a limited purview of friends.
So do you still have a pretty small social circle or professional network?
No, I have been fortunate enough over the years, the pendulum has swung, and we have a vast network of business associates, friends, and I have wonderful friends now across the country.
Mm-hmm. So earlier when we were speaking in the green room, I asked you, what was I missing? What did you tell me? Did you tell me something about the business and the relationships you have with the team at the business? What was that all about?
It's something that's meaningful, that when you start a business, you do in some fashion create a family, and that family needs attention. They need communication. They need to hear what the hum of the business is and what their needs are. And I believe that Advantage responds to that. And I am just over the moon out of each and every one of them.
So it sounds to me like, even though it says here you're the president and owner, it sounds like you're the mother of the business. Am I correct about that?
I think that might be a lofty comment. I think that I steer the ship here. I believe it's the team and the staff that actually make it all happen.
Do you enjoy spending time with your people? Do you get into a personal relationship with your teammates?
I do. Now, as we grow, it's a little bit harder, but we spend, we acknowledge the birthday, the anniversaries, the milestones in their life. If something special has happened during the course of we talk about that. It's really a wonderful forum here.
Yeah, it sounds to me, because when we were talking earlier, you really appreciated Richard spent time with you, and this woman when you were 13 spent time with you. In fact, you really appreciated they spent time with you, that they mentored you, and something was rattling in my brain that you probably are involved with helping mentor and develop other people. My bet is it's your teammates in the business. Am I correct about that?
You are. We have a very big pay it forward attitude here. We're big on education. We're big on helping the community. And it's not me, it's the entire team.
Mm-hmm. Why do you do that?
Because honestly, our children are the future, and the future's on. So what we do to promote having our life.
You find it meaningful, don't you, really mentoring and developing this family? I mean, this business, the people in the business, don't you?
It's meaningful, it's powerful, and it's my passion.
Mm-hmm. What's the website address for your passion, this business known as Advantage Building and Facility Services? What's your website address?
AdvantageBFS.com.
We've been speaking with Trish Feidiga, President and Owner of Advantage Building and Facility Services here on Executive Leaders Radio. Don't forget to visit our website. It's executiveleadersradio.com. That's executiveleadersradio.com to learn more about our executive leaders. We'll be back in a moment right after this quick break. We're back. You're listening to Executive Leaders Radio. This is your host, Herb Cohen, and we'd like to introduce Shafi Ghaffar, who's CEO of Curry Shack. Shafi, what is Curry Shack? What are you guys doing?
Curry Shack is a fast, casual, takeout delivery Indian restaurant based in Philadelphia with 4 locations.
Uh-huh. How'd you get a job with this company?
I am the founder and the owner of Curry Shack.
Oh, so you started it. Where are you from originally? How many brothers and sisters, and where are you in the pecking order?
Originally from Bangladesh, we immigrated here in 95 when I was 6 years old, and I'm 3 of 4 siblings.
So you're originally from Bangladesh. You came to the United States when you were a kid. What were you doing 8 to 14 years old when you were when you came to this country?
Working in my dad's restaurant.
Uh-huh. Working in your dad's restaurant. Like, what did your day look like? What did your days look like?
Morning times, school, right after school, homework after homework. For the dinner rush, I would go to the restaurant and help my dad in anything he needed. On the floor, in the back of the kitchen, in the front counter.
Wait a minute. How young were you, and what were you doing at your father's restaurant?
I was 10 years old when I was working at my dad's restaurant, helping him out, run the business.
Well, what were you doing? Were you sweeping the floors? He gave you one thing to do, right?
So he gave me multiple things to do. If I needed to wash dishes, or if I needed to bring the food to the table, or if I even needed to charge a customer at the front desk, I would have to do it all.
Oh, so you're 10 years old and you did it all. How long did you work in your father's restaurant?
I worked in the restaurant until I graduated college, actually.
Uh-huh. Do you think that influence of doing a little bit of everything in your father's restaurant, where he came from Bangladesh, and you guys were working 8 hours a day, you think that had anything to do with your starting this business?
Absolutely. After college, I actually went away. I wanted to get away from the restaurant business. So I worked for corporate for a couple of years. And I just didn't like the corporate environment working for someone else. So I ended up starting my own restaurant and grew the business from there.
Mm-hmm. Shannon?
Shafi, what about your mom? What was she like when you were growing up?
My mom was amazing. She was a housewife. She took care of pretty much paying the bills, cooking, cleaning, taking care of her 4 children. and my father, who basically ran the business and paid for the family to really thrive.
And who are you more like, your mom or your dad?
I believe I'm more like my mom, only because my mom is a very strong individual. She would motivate my dad. She would support my dad in anything he wanted to do, because all my dad did was just run the business, but mentally he needed support. He had no one else here. So my mom would really give him that mental support, really push him forward to really do his best. And then along with that, she raised 4 kids as well.
And what did you learn from mom when you were growing up that you carry with you nowadays to help build your business and team?
Be strong, be positive, move forward, and never look back.
Mm-hmm. Did you take a lot of family vacations when you were a kid?
0.
Why?
We really didn't have the time. My father started his restaurant a couple years prior to bringing his family over to the States in 95.
You guys worked.
And once we came, I was a little bit younger, but as I got older, when I was 10, I worked in the restaurant.
Mr. Stonecipher?
Shafi, I want to go back. You mentioned you immigrated here to the U.S. when you were around 6 years old. I can't even imagine what that was like. I'm guessing there's a lot of struggles with that. Can you tell me about some of that?
Absolutely. English is my second language. I actually had to learn English between ESL classes and watching TV, because that's how my parents learned English, is via Simpsons.
Was it hard making friends and kind of integrating into the U.S.?
I had no friends to begin with. I really didn't speak the language. I really wasn't fluent at it. I had to learn it. No friends at school. I would come back, and my family was my friend at that time.
How did that impact you?
It made me stronger as a person. It motivated me to succeed. I learned English. And later on down life, I did make friends, but I think I'm very close to my siblings. And my mom and dad as well. Where did you find the strength or the ability to get through those struggles? I'm curious, where'd you draw the ability to do that? From my mom. My mom spoke the least English out of all of us. At least we learned. My father was already here, but my mom had a very difficult time communicating, but she pushed through it. I mean, if it was broken English to explaining with sign languages, she got through. Mm-hmm. What do you think you learned from that you're using in business today? So same thing with, what I apply to my business is the family-oriented relationship. I'm very close with all my employees, hands-on training, and I'm still hands-on to this day with running my business.
Mr. Jackowitz?
Shafi, you mentioned in the green room that you worked in the family restaurant with all of your siblings. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Absolutely. My older brother helped in the kitchen, helped in the front. My sister was the server, and then she helped in the front desk. They taught me how to work in the restaurant business since I was 10 years old. I learned everything from them. And how did you what has that experience taught you that you use today with your employees in your business? Like I mentioned, I'm very hands-on. When I hire a new employee, I would train them personally. I would work with the chefs personally, front of the house personally. And I'm very hands-on with that.
Mm-hmm. Caleb?
Shafi, with the hands-on experience that you have, the way that you're training your staff, I'm wondering, how does that benefit your clients? How does that affect the patrons of the restaurant? The customer service with the restaurant, every single customer, we have loyal customer base. They're families to us. And, they're eating there multiple times a week. And we know all of our customers by first name basis. They know all of our employees by first name basis. So you seem like a real go-getter. I'm wondering, how high is up? Do you plan on retiring within the next couple of years? My goal originally was to retire by 40. I believe in this country, the sky is limitless.
So what's that mean to you?
I believe that if you work hard and you're consistent and love what you do, you can achieve anything.
Well, are you planning to keep working, or what are you going to do with the rest of your life?
Absolutely. I'm into multiple different ventures, and I love work.
You love work. Well, I mean, it was pretty obvious when you didn't take any family vacations and you were working in your father's store aside from. But what do you love about work? I love everyone that I work with, the customer service aspect of it, being able to help employees achieve their goals as well as mine. Wait a minute. I thought you were going to tell me you love the money, the money, the money. You're talking about you love the people, you love the team, you love your customers. What are you talking about?
Absolutely. I mean, money is there. Money is great and all, but without the love for the customer and love for the employees and love for doing what I'm doing, I wouldn't be able to achieve financial wealth.
Wait a minute. You're telling me that the reason that you really enjoy business is because of the people as opposed to the money directly? If you take care of the people, the money's going to come? Am I reading that correctly?
Absolutely. I'm a high believer in that.
A high believer in what?
High believer in taking care of, someone next to me or the employees or loving the customers, because without the customers, we are nothing.
Where'd you get that from? How'd you learn that lesson? Where's that coming from?
It was just my upbringing, and I saw my dad really, him cooking in the kitchen to doing the prep work to coming out to greeting customers and letting them know what he had on the menu for that day. Everyone knew him by first name basis, and they would come back because of him, not more so because of the food of the restaurant.
So what's that have to do with how you're building your businesses?
So with me, I modernized it. I just knew that if I gave great quality products and service, the customers would be there. And along with that, building a brand that would become a household name in Philadelphia.
What do you mean building a brand? What are you talking about?
Building a brand, meaning, everyone knows ethnic food was not as popular until a couple of years ago. And with ethnic food, a lot of people really don't understand it. They don't really want to try it. So letting them know what it is, how we do things, and, it allows them to venture into something new.
So you're really proud of, and this is Indian related food, yes?
Yes, correct.
Mm-hmm. And you're from Bangladesh.
Correct. Indian, Pakistanis, and Bangladeshis have very similar foods. It just really depends on meats, seafoods, or vegetarians.
All right. Let me have the website address for Curry Shack, please.
Curryshack.com, curry with a K.
So it's KURRYSHACK.com. Is that correct? We've been speaking with Shafi Ghaffar, CEO of Curry Shack, here on Executive Leaders Radio. Please don't forget to visit our website. It's executiveleadersradio.com. That's executiveleadersradio.com. Learn more about our executive leaders. We will be back in a moment, right after this quick break.
Recognize your deserving business advisors on our nation's leading Business with Heart radio show, Executive Leaders Radio. Yes, you can recognize your deserving business advisors on our nation's leading Business with Heart radio show, executiveleadersradio.com. Simply visit executiveleadersradio.com, securely enter their info, and we'll reach out to spotlight your deserving business advisors on our nation's leading Business with Heart radio show, executiveleadersradio.com. Don't wait. This radio and online social media and search engine exposure is quite valuable. Yes, this radio and online social media and search engine exposure is quite valuable to your business advisors who deserve to be recognized. Visit executiveleadersradio.com now to nominate your deserving business advisors for free exposure.
We're back. You're listening to Executive Leaders Radio. This is your host, Herb Cohen. I'd like to introduce Beth Hahn, president of Berkshire Systems Group. Beth, what is Berkshire Systems Group? What are you guys up to?
We're a fire safety, security, and communications integration business.
How large or how small is the team?
We have 122 people and 3 office locations.
Mm-hmm. And how'd you get a job with this company?
I'm second generation.
All right. Where are you from originally? How many brothers and sisters, and where are you in the pecking order?
Reading, Pennsylvania, and I'm second of 2.
All righty. 8 to 14 years old. What kind of stuff were you up to?
Well, I tried sports, and I was okay. I came along with my friends and did what I could to participate and give to the team, but I wasn't the greatest player. So didn't really have huge interest or stay with that.
Mm-hmm. So what did you get into? What were you involved with? What did you enjoy?
Loved being involved at school, was somewhat involved at church, loved being involved with confirmation class and helping out anywhere I could.
Mm-hmm. In the green room, we were talking earlier, you mentioned you want to contribute. You feel it's really important for you to contribute and quote unquote, do it right, comma, all the way. What's that contribute, do it right, all the way have to do with who you are?
Well, I like to steer. I like it to get finished to a completion point rather than get it halfway and it's not really working out for us. So it's a matter of looking at all the aspects, making it right the first time rather than having to redo every time.
How young were you when you started taking control? And give us an example.
I would say, in high school, I was trying to be the leader of certain clubs that I was involved in. Same thing in church when I was involved with confirmation class, working with people to push them, in the right direction. So I really did like leading the charge.
What kind of clubs were you the boss of?
Oh boy, Herb, you're asking me to go back.
Mm-hmm.
So,
or church, or just some other example. Mm-hmm.
Just, like I said, when it came to let's go to church is confirmation and being the mentor and, bringing the kids that were younger along with us. Gotcha.
Shannon?
Beth, outside of your immediate family, who was someone that you looked up to as a kid?
Well, I really did. I loved the parents that helped out in our youth groups and our confirmation class. They were giving so much of their own time and cared so much about us. And they were great mentors for us to show how they do time.
And you appreciated the time that they're putting into you at that age?
I really did. I felt very good about just the type of people I was with and what they were doing for us.
And what did you learn from them in that experience that relates to the way you're building your team nowadays?
I need to be interested in everyone's lives and what they're doing and how that impacts us as a company. And I need to give back. That's huge for us.
Mr. Stonecipher?
Beth, when you joined Berkshire Systems, you mentioned you're a second generation owner. So what roles were you playing and how young were you when you started with Berkshire?
So I helped out in the company when I was in high school, right after my dad started the business. I did some secretarial and any kind of little things that he needed help with along the way. And then off to college, but after college, helping out a little bit as I was starting my own business alongside of his.
So it's often difficult to get a business into the second generation. So what did you see that your father had, what skills made him successful that you're translating into what you're doing today?
My dad is a man of high integrity. My dad he cares tremendously about his team, or cared tremendously about the team, still does. People respected him by what he did, his actions, not necessarily that he ever demanded the respect, but he earned it.
You think that influenced you? Huge.
That was a huge impact on me. I couldn't do that with my kids, and I can't do that with my work family as well. So,
Mr. Jokowitz?
Tell us about when you first started making money. What age were you, and what were you doing?
I was paid I'm sure my dad gave me some type of a little income when I was helping out in the business early on. And for me, it wasn't about the money. It was about how I was helping out. I worked 2 jobs at the same time. So I helped in my dad's business, and I also worked at Reading China and Glass at an early age of 15. I didn't go after that job for the money. I did it just to be involved in something.
You mentioned you stayed there for a while, right?
I stayed there for 6 years. I started as a cashier, moved into customer service, moved into an internship program. And then before I left, I was offered a job as an assistant manager.
So what did you learn from those experiences that you bring with you today?
Helping people, being involved in what the outcome needs to be, stepping in wherever I possibly can to get the job done. And just that drive, I I love what I do. I love the people that we serve. And I just have so much passion. I have passion for that business at the same time because I love the people that I worked with. Mm-hmm. So my focus is definitely people.
Caleb?
Beth, what sports did you play growing up?
I was a field hockey player and did a little field and track.
What was your role on either of those teams?
So not a huge role, and that's probably why I didn't continue with them. I wasn't a major contributor because I wasn't extremely athletic. So I would say I was there. I was a help for the team, but not as large of a help as I wanted to be.
So it seems like you kind of adjusted your role and talents to suit your talents. Have you ever had to do that in the business with an employee at Berkshire Systems?
I adjust my role all the time, depending upon the person that I'm with. And so I need to look at who they are and what best suits them for how I'm going to interact with them.
Mm-hmm. How's that helped the business grow?
I'm focused on making sure that we get the right people in the right seats. Mm-hmm. If they're not, look at their value to the company and how can we use that for their benefit and for our benefit to make us grow further.
Mr. Jackowitz?
Beth, you mentioned that you have 3 children. Do you want them to join the business right after they graduate high school?
So they are all college. They're either finished with college or in the middle of college right now. Our daughter is at Drexel University. Sorry, Ron. And I would love for them to come into the business eventually, but 5 years is the rule. They have to be out, have a real boss, have a real job, and they're not entitled to this position because their family, this is a business family. They're part of that if they wish to be, but I have to safeguard what we have built to this point and not create any kind of entitlement.
You also mentioned that you work with your husband. What's that all about?
We've worked together for over 30 years. He worked for my father. He met my dad. Actually, I met my husband and he met my father the same night. And my dad offered him a job that night. He chose the girl instead of the job. And eventually came on with the business, worked for my dad, and then I stepped in. So we have worked side by side for a very long time, work out very well. It's a little weird, unique, and very blessed that we do have the relationship that we do.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned as a kid you were pretty involved with church. What's that have to do with who you are nowadays in this business?
You know, we're all about community service here as well. So this isn't just a business to grow and to make money. We're not here for that. We're here to give back to the community. And I would say that that's where church let, that impact in my life. We are very involved in the community with children and with all different aspects. And we have a group of individuals here at the company that have now moved that along. So my passion to start it has grown. Mm-hmm. And that's where we're headed.
And these personality traits of steering and getting things started and getting things complete, have they helped you grow the business?
Most definitely. I've learned that I am a stickler in some ways, and I've learned how I can use that to our benefit.
Website address for Berkshire Systems?
bsgi.com.
We've been speaking with Beth Hahn, president of Berkshire Systems Group here on Executive Leaders Radio. Shannon, can you give us a rundown on who else we've had the opportunity of speaking with today?
Sure, Herb. We had a great show today. We started off with Dr. Ron Matthews, president of Eastern University. Then we had Trish Feidiga, president and owner of Advantage Building and Facility Services. Then Rafi Gaffer, CEO of Curry Shack. And just now we wrapped up with Beth Hahn, president of Berkshire Systems Group.
I'd like to thank my co-host, Shannon Lane Newmark. Caleb Hoppus, Hanlon, David Jackowitz, Evolution Financial Group, and Dave Stonecipher, Herbine, for giving me a hand structuring the questions, hopefully providing our listening audience an educational and entertaining show. I'd like to thank our listening audience for listening. Otherwise, we wouldn't have a radio show. Don't forget to visit our website. It's executiveleadersradio.com. That's executiveleadersradio.com to learn more about our executive leaders. Thank you for joining us today, and have a nice day. Bye-bye.